Hello, Chris.
Hi, Anna.
How are you?
Doing very well, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm doing good too.
Good, good. Well, thanks for connecting here. I appreciate it.
I thank you very much for holding meetings like that.
Of course, of course. I hope it's not too inconvenient for you. Is it nighttime where you're at?
It's 10 o'clock here.
Well, hopefully this isn't too inconvenient for you. If it is, I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay. Okay. Well, great. Well, what would you like to talk about?
Um, I actually have one question.
Sure, sure. And you don't need to have a whole bunch of questions. I was just asking if you want to, wherever you want to start is good with me.
So from your experience, the way after that a big opening happened to you, because
Hmm.
I remember like I started to follow your videos last year, last summer, and um, and I absolutely love your boxers.
Oh, thank you. Me too.
Because when I was a kid, I loved dogs, still love dogs, and I just like, oh, they are gorgeous.
Appreciate that. What's that?
One dog or two you have.
Two, Maya and Mowgli.
So what I was thinking, I heard many people say when this insight is deepening into a non-dual perception, a perception of visual field is changing, a perception of space and 3D dimension, like, and that a visual field that just felt like at no distance,
Hmm.
and there's like flatness and 2D, like, kind of.
Hmm.
Is that what you experience as well?
Yeah, I mean, there's still a perception of distance, but there's a knowledge laced within it that there is no distance. Like everything that you see, look around your room right now, everything you see is in your awareness, right? It's an appearance of your awareness. And
Uh-huh.
in that knowledge, then see how far away is it from you? If it's all in your awareness, where is your awareness?
Like, um, with sounds, it is very clear there is no distance, no location in the sound.
Hmm.
Same with body sensations.
Hmm.
There are not localized, like just clearly in the body. Like you can't find boundaries.
And why is that?
It just seems like also like a visual is like a body sensation and there is no difference.
It
It's probably because there is awareness of all this sensory perception experience, and it's all is just like a one whole thing. Yeah.
precisely, precisely. It's all a modification or a modulation of your awareness that's right here and could never be any distance from you because it is your essential essence. It is what you are.
It's just, like there is still this belief, like there is some kind of me, some kind of self is here, even if I can't find it anywhere. And, like body sensations, they are just body sensations, a perception, like visual perception of bodies, visual perception of a body. But still, there is some belief there is some kind of me, or maybe there is just a holding of that belief.
Well, it's clear to me that you've done a lot of investigating and in the right direction. Like this is becoming pretty clear to you, and that's wonderful. You clearly have a very clear way of looking at this, and so that's a great place to approach this with. You've done a lot of the work already. Really, what this becomes now is seeing that even this body identification, this mind, this self that you assume is there, even though you've already seen the transparency of it, it's just about seeing that as a belief, just like everything else. Of course, there's an attachment, a natural attachment to this body mind, the prism through which this infinite consciousness is looking and localizing. But it's just an attachment. It's just we've given so much energy to this body mind perception, this seeming self, that it's still in the subconscious.
Hmm.
You've burned through all of the what's conscious. You can see everything as the transparency of awareness itself, including your body mind identification when you look directly for it. But there's still this energetic movement uprising from the subconscious, and all it requires is to continue noticing that this too is just an apparition of awareness. It's just a modification of awareness, and that although you've given so much energetic importance to it throughout your entire life, now is the time to stop.
Is it like a old habit, just like keep coming back,
Mhm.
like keep popping up, like from subconscious?
It's exactly that. It's an energetic momentum that just kind of got the ball rolling when you were at a very
Mm,
young age, and so it just attracts upon it all of like a lot of your mental energy, a lot of your
mm,
consciousness, and so it seems that consciousness requires this self to localize or focus through, but it's not true.
mhm.
This lens that seems to be a self is also observed, and it's observed from your essence that's already radically beyond it, radically free.
Because one day when I was walking and looking in the visual, like, and it's just like, where else can you perceive it if not only here?
Mm,
Because like, you're always here, and visual is always here because you can't be there. And once, like, even if body is there, that is here already because.
perfect, perfect, perfect. That's the recognition you return to every time. And do that with whenever you observe that this consciousness seems to be flowing through or have an assumption of a seeming self. Question that, look at it, look at that directly, just like you did with that visual perception that you just said. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same
um,
practice.
in visual, there is also um, this habit of explaining, oh, this is that, this is that, this is that, and this is this. And
Hmm.
then there is becomes this, like, oh, this is body, and there is some kind of me in the body. And so I am this subject,
Hmm.
and there is a door, and that is an object. So there is a distance between me in the body and that door, which is over there. But in the visual itself, without applying any descriptions, oh, this is door and this is that and this is something else. In the visual itself, it's just a visual, just a visual.
Beautiful. So what all I'm doing for you right here is clarifying the distance between those two perspectives. One is the infinite consciousness, the boundaryless consciousness that you are, when it senses a subject-object relationship, a there and a here, it's looking through the mind. And then when you just notice that, but there's another perception here that when it actually looks, it notices that there is not a here and there. It's all one field. It's all a unified essence, and it's all what I am. It's all awareness. So in one of those, in the first one, consciousness was funneling itself through the mind, through the looking glass of the mind, and through the other one, it just was not. That's the only difference. And to notice that difference, notice when consciousness is looking through the lens of mind, and notice when it's not. It allows you to then choose which one you want to look through. Do you want to look through the contraction of a body mind self like you've done your entire life, which is fine, but it also brings upon it more energies, often of suffering and, a seeming distance between you and happiness, or the unified field that just knows this now moment? Those are the two options in every moment, and you've already
And
identified both.
but sometimes, when there is no movement, it's just, yeah, like it's hard to find the boundary between body and the rest things. Maybe it's hard to find. Maybe there is just no boundary. That's why that is hard to find.
Hmm.
But see, like if cars are like moving or trees are moving, it feels like something in the body is moving, and that
Mm.
visual it just feels like body sensations. But that's not even in the body. It's just like that movement happens somewhere here, but it feels like in the body.
You assume it to be in the body. It's just in consciousness like everything else. right?
It's, yeah, probably.
What would know whether or not this is true?
Hmm. That knowingness that doesn't need any confirmation. That knowingness it knows already. And it doesn't have any doubts, doesn't have any questions. It just knows.
It's just the self-luminous essence of being. That's your true self. That's the selfless self. That's what I call the absolute. You're right
Yeah,
there.
it's
It's
just
just about
mind
settling into it.
has a tendency to jump and
Yeah. The mind will continue to question this, and it's okay. If you want to continue to use the mind to investigate this, that can be good. It can help clarify these things for you. But another suggestion is when there is no questions, or when you are just in that space of that just self-luminous being, where there's no seemingly objects, there's no seeming subject-object relationship with you in a external world. Feel free to just sit in that, because that is potent. That will dissolve the remaining questions. The more you stabilize in that, everything else clarifies and your life takes on a sort of harmonious flow that becomes unquestioned. It just goes beautifully.
um there was an insight or aha moment, a very strange, like weird experience when it was no any like mind blowing or anything like that, no blisses, no honeymoons, nothing. It was just like it felt like mine stopped or I stopped, something stopped, and literally like something stopped, and then it was like 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 waking up from being unconscious or something like that,
Mm,
or like from a deep sleep, and then like the way nervous system reacted, it was like strong crying and laughing and crying, and body went into like strong shakes for a few minutes,
mm.
and then there were like people were around me, and I say like I'm okay, I'm totally okay. Like I'm not sure about body, but I am, and I don't even know what I am.
Perfect. Beautiful. I mean, that is an
And
awakening. That
they say to me, like you're Anna, I am Anna, and that laugh came out, and like laughing, but I didn't even realize, there was some like something happened at that moment, because everything was exactly the same, and I
mm.
imagined, like once awakening happens, like everything is like oneness, non-duality, and that connectedness, and something it was nothing like that. I just like that's just a weird experience.
Yeah, I mean, really what this is, it's just a decontraction. So like nothing actually changes except the lens of mind through which you're viewing it. Everything all of a sudden just clarifies, and that is awakening. There's a perception shift from a body-mind identity that's viewing everything else as a separate object, and all of a sudden that evaporates, and all there is just what is, and it's seen clearly. And the reason there was an eruption of laughter is because there is a joy there. There's a joy that's uncaused. It's not because something is great outside of you or funny or beloved. It's just that that is a natural quality of what is when the contraction is released. The contraction of mind evaporates. That's
Because
what you
um
experienced. That's beautiful.
next day I was driving to work, and I noticed something is different, like wider open, something
Mhm.
like that. But what happened after this, um, when I heard people talking in the videos, like you are without even knowing what you are. Like you don't need to know yourself. You don't need to know anything to be. Things
Mhm.
like this. And that's kind of start to click into places. So it's just like, oh yes, it's like a baby. They are born or someone with amnesia. They just are, but there is no story. And then it was
Mm.
just like, oh, Anna is just like a story. It's just like a projection and things like this. It just started to clarify itself slowly. And but then it just something like felt it hasn't been fully seen. And I followed Liberation Unleash. I got their book, Gateless Gates, when they, like when they lead people. And I remember one morning I went through that book twice, and one morning I woke up and I was just like, this projection. But this projection is not animated. So what is animating that? And our attention goes back in and it's completely empty. No one is there.
Mhm.
And I was like, I just felt like body was releasing something. I was just like relief, relief, relief. And and then for about 7, 8 months, there was a lot of emotional shadow work.
Mhm.
Like all that trauma stuff, like was coming up and just working through. I was like very strong, energetic releases, like shaking and body expressing itself different kind of ways and screaming and just kicking and scratching different ways, very odd ways, rolling on the floor and different things. But it was very good to see how body just opens up and expresses, releases everything, and there is no stories. Mine just completely just done getting involved and just allows body to do all the work. And that kind of settled. And now this recognition would happen in that moment of that insight. That's kind of establishing. Mine comes like more quiet, and this sense of being, sense of presence. It's just like getting like I could say heavier, but that's not the right word. It's just like more here. Yeah. It's kind of
More
becomes like a
grounded.
more primal experience. Yeah.
Mm.
But still, like still there is feels like there is some kind of me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're just going through the integration of this realization that you had. Even after awakening, there's still the integration of it. Things still bubble up from both conscious and subconscious. Subconscious still being the same thing. It's not that it's different from conscious. It's just, lower, more suppressed energies that have been unchecked throughout either this lifetime or many lifetimes. I'm not sure, but they start to bubble up. They start to bubble up into your awareness, and it can be uncomfortable. But as long as we're returning to our essence that we awakened to in the initial awakening, those energies are allowed to pass through, and they're seen, and they're liberated. They're liberated, just like the idea of a self. That too is liberated, and by liberated I mean evaporated, gone,
Yeah.
dissolved.
It like dissolves, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. Because a couple of days ago I was talking to someone, and recently what I came across, because once I started to work with that all emotional trauma stuff, um it just seemed like that there is like so much, and that specter is so wide, like all these beliefs. But it seems like it's narrowing down to very one thing. Something's wrong with me.
Mm.
And from this something wrong with me, they just like, I'm doing something wrong. And then, like they don't love me, they hate me, I'm unworthy. I'm just all popping up like a tree, like a branches from
Hmm.
one stem. So it's just like, yeah, everything just goes back to boils down to this something wrong with me.
Mm.
And
Perfect.
I was talking to someone and they say, like, what is that sensation? So I'm just looking at that sensation, and there was just like sensation, like there's nothing. It's like nothing is there. You can't even say it's neutral because you can't put any word on it. And when I looked at that, it's just like dissolving. So what I
Perfect.
start doing now, some thought comes up, like this thought normally catches attention. They said something, they done something. I just like stop for a moment. What are you without this thought? And attention goes instantly back to that. awareness, consciousness, whatever you call it. That's what can be called, that's what can be named. And and all what is left if thought is just, like gone, where that came from. All is left is sensation. And you just look into that sensation and that just dissolves as well. And that's it. And that's just like a knot untangles.
You're doing this precisely correct.
Thank you. I
Wonderful.
just, like any, like a bubble. And then
Hmm. Yeah,
it,
beautiful. I have nothing to add. You're doing this all the way right. This is the process of liberation, and you're doing that honestly and truthfully right now. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you. I love watching it because you are becoming a node of understanding in the world, and that node of understanding heals everything around it.
It's like that energy is changing and that's expanding on people around.
Yeah. Yeah, this has a
Uh-huh.
real effect. I mean, I mean, I don't want to put any like big lofty concepts in your mind because there isn't that. But this is what's been religiously described as saints, spontaneous healing from saints. I mean, they were walking around with the realization, probably using different words, such as they realized the full integration of God as the now presence that they are. They probably say something more like that than, the modern language we use, but it's the same essence, and there is a healing there. It's the same reason that there's seen to be holy places on earth where there seems to be spontaneous evaporations of stuck energies, which is what we call healing.
Hmm.
And you become a walking holy place.
Bubble bursting.
Yeah. It's really important though that we don't now take that as our identity because that would just be another concept. So
Yeah.
don't let that trap you. Don't let that trap you. It's not that you're walking around as an enlightened holy being. No. That's
Look at
still
me.
right, right, right. That's still a
Mind
concept.
loves that. Mind
It
loves
loves it, loves it, loves it. That's probably the big right. That's probably the biggest trap there could be.
that. um, yeah, and you can see that, it's like a small child, like, oh,
Hmm.
look at me, I've done something, I've achieved something.
It's a natural tendency for consciousness. It explains why we're here right now as we are, because consciousness has a tendency to localize and focus and then identify with its focusing. And that's what we are, or that's what we think we are, this focusing mechanism. But when we realize our essence, we zoom back out to just the essence that knows. And you're right. You already illuminated the fact that although we're calling it pure consciousness or pure awareness or pure being or pure presence, though they're still just concepts or words,
Mhm.
people need to feel into what essence those represent in their direct experience. And that's what unwinds the illusion. That's what dissolves the separation. And you've done that. You're doing that. You're continuing to do that. That's the only thing to do. And realizing that ultimately, you realize also that there is no doer and that there's just a natural evaporation taking place, evaporation
Yeah,
of what never was.
yeah, because when there's the storytelling happening, it feels like, oh, there is me and I'm doing and this. But very often when I look back, I just, like, I can't even take credit for that because it's, like, no matter how much, like there is this desire, oh, I'm doing so great and I'm this and all this, like praise and they feel good. Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, it's me.
Right, right.
But like you see that is happening through this body, like it's body working, nervous system is doing, brain functioning. There
Hmm.
is knows itself, who wants to, oh, this is me.
It's just the game consciousness is playing,
Yeah,
and
yeah, it's just
and it's all okay, and it's all fun, and we can do it all, but with no attachment is the way to go about life, in the liberated state, the stateless state.
it's like not creating a new
Mm.
me,
Yeah.
and believing. like, okay, this is bad me, but this is good me.
Right.
To be
Right.
good.
Yeah. I mean, the mind loves to compartmentalize. We just need to become aware when this consciousness is looking through the mind and then dividing itself.
Um, how would you notice what is the easiest way to notice when when consciousness is operating through mind and when that is just itself?
Well, automatically, there seems to be a subject-object relationship assumed. As soon as that's assumed, you already know
That's
you're looking through the mind.
uh-huh.
Whether or not there's a felt contraction. Oftentimes there's a felt contraction, but sometimes it's so subtle that you still feel free even when you're looking through the mind. But then
Mm-hmm.
there's but then there's this subject object relationship that's there in the
Um,
background as, being assumed by this consciousness. And
uh-huh.
then you know you're looking through the lens of mind, which is
Uh,
fine. There's nothing
yeah.
wrong with that. It's the same substance that's not looking through the mind. It's the same substance that the mind essentially is. So it's all okay. But it can create, more stuck and bound
Mhm.
energies because it's a contraction of this boundless state. And so in order to just become more aware of when that's happening and catch it, so that you can, if you want, remain back in your free, happy, liberated, blissful state, is just notice when subject object relationship arises. And then ask yourself, what knows this? Or what is aware of this? Or am I aware? And in those prompts, you're sensing into the essence that is aware of mind, just like it's aware of everything that the mind is aware of, and it's on both sides of that prism, both sides of the lens of mind already. And that essence is radically free already, always.
Yeah, it's like on the background, always here.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
just like remembering.
Yeah. I mean, you see this very clearly. And so I'd actually like to ask you, what works for you? What brings you into this space of the uncontracted pure consciousness?
Um, it's more like here all the time. Like
Hmm.
even when I'm talking to you now, if I keep attention there and I can talk to you, it's like both. I can perceive it both. Like,
Mm.
this talking is happening and it's also there. But if I am like more like working, like doing something or getting engaged, like very like attention really focus on that interaction with someone, then it's kind of goes into that narrower aspect. But once there is no interactions and this body mind just, like functioning and its own, like just doing habitual things in the house or watching TV. Sometimes watching TV can be very focused into that and you kind of forget about this. But this is like here all the time and it's just like a matter of like, that.
Perfect. So I mean, what I'm gathering is you are just naturally stabilized in this as your true essence, as your true nature, which is beautiful. I have nothing
it
to add.
it seems like this has clarified since very recently. It established here when that majority of that energetic emotional that trauma because it's still there still coming up and again something getting like touched activated triggered
But
um
you know how to deal with it now. You know how to evaporate it.
um also like when there is something like something coming through the body, like it feels like body just like relaxes, opens, and just allows it to
Mm.
go through. And sometimes when there's some thought is catching attention or something like asking for more attention, then it just like needs to be looked at,
Hmm.
felt it, or like investigated, whatever. It's very like there is no like recipe. This happens, you do this and that and that. It's more like opens in the moment, and it's
It
just like
it becomes very natural. Yes.
yeah. Yeah, it's
Totally.
like intuitive way.
Totally.
Yeah, it's like, when you go and do your cooking, you don't follow recipe, you just, yeah, you
Totally.
put that. Hmm.
I mean, life itself, this essence that creates this life is infinitely intelligent. It created all of this. It created the cosmos. It created the work of evolution and physics, and it also created its pathway back to itself. And so, yeah, that's why this investigation of your true nature is also natural at some point. These prompts can help somebody initiate on their path and look in the right direction. It can help people divest from the contents of awareness and look at just the essence of awareness. And from there, they can clearly then investigate what the rest of this is. That's awakening and then liberation on the backside. But yes, it becomes natural, it becomes intuitive because this essence knows what it is. There's a gravity that is your true nature.
Yeah. Only thing what um once all that um majority of that contracted, compressed energy got released, um this kind of like neutrality and calmness, okayness, peace established, which basically is this itself. It's kind of its nature.
Yes, those are the qualities.
Yeah, and um, man, there is like a very little motivation into investigating, practicing, or doing something. It's more like mine just like leans back into that and just relaxes and just like leans back and just relaxes into that
Mhm.
because there is no it's, I could say lazy, but that's not the right word. But it's like that. I want to say lazy, but it's not the right word. It's like it can't make itself. Before it was just let energy just go, do, get something in the future. Because in the future there is all that happiness.
Always. Yep.
And once it's settled into this, it's just like, and it can't even make doing more. And then one stage I was just like, and how am I going to practice now? How am I going to move forward on this now? Because it feels like something hasn't been fully completed because the sense of me is it still operates here. I'm just like, but you can't even make it to make those.
You're right. There's a relaxation into this contentment, and it's not laziness. It's just the joy of being. It doesn't need
Mhm.
to do anything or be anything. It's just being. And in that is a contentment, a natural happiness, a natural joy.
It's just like life is life in itself, and anything needs to be done is getting done.
Yeah.
Like, body gets up and gets dressed and goes to work, and anything needs to be cooked, it's getting cooked, house getting tidied, everything's done with the way. But it's just still, like, oh, maybe lazy, maybe getting depressed, or maybe so.
That's just the mind's commentary on top of just what is. And what is laced with joy and happiness. But when the mind writes a story about it, that's when suffering and, the illusion of separation and all the qualities of that felt separation, like frustration or lack or, discontentment, those are just energies of tied that are tied to the mind story. But you're right, there's a natural flow to life that just continues and it can be trusted. Like I said, it's infinitely intelligent. It created life itself. You can relax into just being, and
Mm.
everything will just continue happening. And then notice when the mind is writing stories about it, and you know, it's not reality. What the mind story is not reality, and so it can just be dismissed outright
It's
in
like
favor of
a
just actually what is.
talk show.
Totally, totally, yeah, yeah. It's Bob Barker or whoever, Right, right, right. Just comment. Yeah, it's a sports broadcaster commenting on what's happening. And it's like, okay, that can be helpful, that can be fun, that can be enjoyed, but it's not reality. It's not what
Mhm.
is. And what this becomes then, as you divest your consciousness from this mind story that's being wrapped around the experience of life. As that fades, there's no more siphoning of your life energy. And then there's just a full investment, a full embrace of actually what is the movement of life, which is yourself. It's a movement of consciousness itself, and you are that. And so in that, there's a full embrace. There's no separation. It's just a flow of your natural essence. And it can be trusted because it's infinitely intelligent. That's
Yeah,
your
I think
relationship with life.
I think there is still a lack of trust, maybe.
That'll come in
Yeah,
time.
yeah, maybe a fear of, like completely let go and allow li life to fully navigate whatever this is. I don't even know what it
Right, right. Yeah, there can be a lack of
Yeah.
trust there, but as you practice, just allowing it to be what it is, and then also noticing the effects of it, noticing that life all of a sudden gains a sort of harmonious flow to it. There's less friction with everything. You notice that, and so in time you'll learn to trust it.
I just like learning to let go more and more and more and more.
It's always a decontraction. Yes, it's a letting go, because in a letting go, everything's allowed to be.
Yeah, it is allowed to be is what is definitely common. What I have noticed, it's more and more here that letting be. Yeah,
Hmm.
because anything in this body mind expression is just kind of automatically allowed to be the way it's coming up.
Beautiful.
And there is still resistance patterns still sometimes appearing, but even that, like even
Even
that is
that's allowed
allowed.
to be.
Yeah,
When resistance is met with full allowance, where's the resistance?
yeah, yeah. Because like once that is noticed, like I just like and that's it. Because there
Hmm.
is nothing is resistant against resistance. Yeah, and then like if you go and push against wall, you can feel that. But if wall moves, there is no resistance.
Exactly.
And then yeah, it's just like goes again, another bubble.
Yep. That's what this is. Noticing the bubbles and then, popping them with pure allowance.
And that's the way that trust is happening
Yep.
more and more. And it's anything that feels kind of um a picture came up today. There is that tiny body and strings attached, like all over, and then strings are just like pop, 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 and just like free in this.
Wonderful. I love to hear it.
So yeah, yeah. I don't think I have any more questions.
Beautiful. I mean, you're doing this 100% correctly. Like what you're doing, you're following your nature. You're trusting that your nature has an intelligence laced into it. You know that now. I mean, maybe I'm providing a little bit of confirmation for you that you can trust it, and you're doing this 100% correct. I wouldn't change a single thing about your process.
Thank you.
No, thank you. You're a node of understanding on this earth, and wherever you walk comes peace and love and joy. And so thank you. I mean, you're really you're really doing it. Now don't take that and as in investment in ego, of course, but do know that you can trust this nature and you are this essence that we've been talking about and referring to this entire time. You're the essence that knows this now moment and that allows all things. It already is all things. There's no
I
friction.
was going to say about all things, a joy, a love, and all this. It is all very like yummy and pleasant and desirable, but also this what we normally don't want to feel, to experience, and this like anger or anything, like anything like what we normally put label as negative, as unwanted. Also, that is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Totally
Perfect.
okay.
Totally.
Because, like, you can be whole if you just take one side and
Mm-hmm.
push away another side. That's splitting. And what I have noticed, like, it's easy to love that nice side, like, oh, yeah, that's nice, that feels good. But I'm always going to love this, which everyone pushes away. That's, like, that's what you create, that's home place for all these energies, and open your heart and welcomes them in, and just, like, normally it was like what comes up, it just, you hold them like your babies. It just, like, you open your heart, that's my babies, that's all my wee kitties, that's all my wee lost kitties. You just come home, you just stay here. You want to stay here, you stay here. You want to go away, you go away. You're allowed to do whatever you want. That's your home place.
And when the baby's crying, it's upset, it's pooping, it's peeing, it's barfing all over the place, you still love it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And like, when they are scared, they are still your kids. And
Mm-hmm.
when they are upset, they are still your kids. When they are angry and throwing tantrums, they are still your kids. When they don't want and push away, they're still your kids. And just like, yeah, just that. I don't know. It's just like, have this tendency to chase all these kiddies more than anything pleasurable.
Yeah. I mean, negativity, anger, frustration, all the negative stuff that we tend to push away, those are all the mind's kids too. In the essence that the body mind complex, of course, just wants the positive. Of course it does. That's a natural tendency. But when the positive and the negative are both embraced, both allowed, they're both equally allowed within the essence that knows both. There's an there's an equilibrium that's then met when everything is allowed to be. And in that equilibrium is liberation.
Because there is nothing pushing away, and that allowance is naturally here. That's,
There's no pushing away of the negative and no pulling in of the positive. That's
yeah,
gone. Everything's allowed to be, and people can
and
trust
it's
this.
balancing. Hmm.
There's a harmonization here, and that harmonization, what ends up happening is that harmonization is understood to be your natural state. And in that natural state is these qualities that you've been longing for ever since, that you've associated with positive objects or positive attainments in the objective world. But really, these are qualities of your innate natural self.
That compassion and, like, warmth, what we normally associate with a connection with other humans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like, feels like it's all here.
Mm, perfect.
Mm.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, this space is naturally there's a natural compassion that's automatically there because it recognizes compassion is just like love is the recognition of our shared nature. And so there is a compassion for everything that is because there's a love for everything that is, including when what is seems to be either negative or ignorant of the truth. That also is allowed. That also is part of what is. And when it's allowed, it comes back into harmony.
I know, and like, even if there is still something, then again, how this other comes up, that is a story.
Mhm. It's
Because,
okay. We could talk about stories.
okay,
Everything's
like,
allowed.
mind creates this other and a story about this other and what that other supposed to be
Hmm.
against this me.
Hmm.
On this subject object and all that resistance energy in between, and like, something feels like needs to be defended here because
Hmm.
this here feels attacked.
Hmm.
But I think in these moments it's very hard to feel compassionate and loving towards it
Mm.
other. But once, like, the nervous system settles here, and whatever is here is worked, so is released, whatever needs to be done, then also, that it's kind of moves also on that other person. Because once this here settles, you can see where's their behavior is coming from, like
Hmm.
why they acting the way are acting, and then there's compassion towards their pain.
Mm.
Because
Yeah,
their pain is the same as here, there's no difference between them.
perfect.
It's just
Yeah.
expressed through a different body.
Hmm.
But in the moment when some that like bomb happens, it's like
Yeah, it can be tough. It can be tough in some moments to be settled. Life will continue to grab at us, but so it requires some dedication, even for, what's considered a enlightened consciousness or whatever. There can still be these uprisings of, strong triggers or, you know, and then that just requires a wisdom that's laced in this to know that even no matter what it looks like, it's still just this. It's still the face of God. It's still just consciousness. Whatever, those are the same thing. If you're religiously minded, you'll say everything is the face or being of God. If you're not, then you'll just say everything is the face or being of the single essence that we all share, that we all are.
a God for me, it feels like that is a male figure somewhere out there.
It's a loaded word for sure, and so it's not very
Yeah,
helpful, at
no,
this point. For most
it's
people, it's not very helpful.
something very like separated.
Yeah,
It's
I
some kind of alien on different galaxies.
I agree. Collective consciousness is tied too many stories around the word God, and unfortunately, it's also tied a lot of stories around the word love. And so, a lot of these words that we tend to use are wrapped in so much story in collective consciousness that they can be hard to, feel into their essence. And so, it'll likely happen with the words that we even use, pure consciousness, pure awareness. At some point, if these things are used and then understood from a million different angles, they'll probably also, have too many stories around them, and at that point we'll have to use different words probably to. But what we're talking about is an essence. We're not talking about a story. We're talking about an essence of being. And that essence of being can be pointed to with multiple prompts that I've already mentioned that you already know. Um, yeah, that I
You know
refer
what?
to as the knowingness of this now moment, the essence that knows.
It feels like so because even like consciousness, then I'm thinking like, thinking, consciousness, or is it something awareness? It's also, like feels like a concept.
Mm.
But the best thing, like best word what resonates, it's life
Oh,
itself.
perfect. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, because like you can't separate anything in the life
Hmm.
expression.
Hmm.
It's like it is emptiness and fullness. It is silence and um
Sound,
all sounds, yeah. And it is like
stillness, and
stillness.
movement.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, it's like life itself. It's like um in springtime, when you walk around, it's just like so obvious, like it's like boson, like yeah, like explosion of energy.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Life is a perfect word. It's a perfect pointer to point to this essence for sure. As long as life also incorporates what at least a biologist would consider to be non-life or inert matter, that too is alive, part of life, part of this
Yeah,
alive, shares this aliveness.
yeah, for me, there is no difference, like because you can't differentiate something what has breathing and no breathing, or blood or not blood, or brain or not brain. Like all is a part of life. Air is a part of life. Like this computer is a part of life. Everything is a part of life because you can't separate these things. This is life. This is not. It's for me that is not like something what is alive, and something is not like stone is not alive, so stone is not a part. I think it can not be part of like,
Yeah.
it's just impossible.
So perfect. So you use life as in the same way that I use consciousness. I
Uh-huh.
would say this computer, this rock, this everything is an appearance of consciousness or a modulation of mind, that essence that knows it. And so perfect. Yeah. If the word life works better for you, and I'm sure it works for better for a lot of people. So I'm glad you said it.
I don't know. It's just because consciousness, I don't even know what it is. Like
It's not
awareness.
it's consciousness is not an activity of mind. Consciousness is the essence. Mind is an activity of consciousness. Consciousness itself is the light that illuminates all of this, fractalizes into all of this. So that's what I mean by consciousness. And if the word consciousness sounds confusing or doesn't register with you, totally ignore it. It's just what happens to work for me.
It's like mm, yeah, life. It's
Life is
like
perfect.
yeah, it's like it expresses itself and it feels itself. It's like breathing itself.
Mm,
It's like heart beating and it's all pumping this blood into all this.
perfect.
Yeah, like one living organism.
All of this is an appearance of aliveness. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think this word better for this brain. I
No, that
can't.
I love how you're expressing it. I mean, that's partially why that's why I love having these meetings, just because people approach this in slightly different perspectives, but
Mm,
we're all talking about the same thing, and especially
mhm.
someone like you that knows exactly what this is and has merged with this. The words that work for you are slightly different than work for me, but the words that you use,
Doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter, but a lot of people will register with your words better than mine. And so I appreciate you so much for using them and being true to them.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was lovely to see you and chat to you. Because I
Beautiful.
remember when I was watching your videos and I used to comment, like, and I was chatting to you. And I
Hmm.
remember like, suggested once, like maybe you do like live meetings or something like that. And then somehow, like, attention moved into different videos. And then you came back into present. It's so interesting how that is, like moving and morphing itself.
Trust the flow and trust your intuition with this. You're doing this exactly right.
Oh, okay, Chris, thank you very much.
Anna, so wonderful to connect with you. If you ever want to jump on another one, just have another fun conversation just like this, let me know.
Okay,
I'm always available.
thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. All my love to you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
If you found this video helpful, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing. Thank you. All my love.